All right, everybody, here's an update on where we are at with the truck. There's the bed. It's going to get blasted today, and Kent's been very busy hand sanding the doors, just because he wanted to be careful not to warp any metal. So he did both of these by hand, and then we're going to go ahead and probably today I will start sandblasting the remaining parts, and then we're going to put etching primer on it. Now, last time we did the frame, and while I was not here, Kent went ahead and put the etching primer on. So that's what it looks like. All right, everybody, looking at the front fender here, it's definitely some rust here as well as underneath it as well. So I've been looking at the LMC catalog. This has been an absolute lifesaver, to be honest. Not only do they have all the parts, but it helps me understand the names of the parts for starters, but also what I would need. So like over here, we're looking at the repair panel, so we could just replace this whole little bit here. I didn't know you could do that, so Kent told me, yep, we don't need to replace the entire fender, where we can just replace the lower panel, this side, and as you can see, this side is pretty bad. So these parts we can definitely just cut them out and put new ones in, but we are going to start sanding the panels. Kent's getting the fan ready. We're going to start sanding this, and then he's going to strip the other panel, take off all the fixings and the lights and the trim, basically get it to that, and then we're going to sandblast this some more. We're doing grinding first before we start the sanding.
There's a lot of material on here. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
How thick it is and how deep it is. You can feel it, feel how textured it is. It's thick.
Yep. So there's Bondo here. And what did you say was this red spot?
That's what they call putty. It's like it's a form of Bondo, but it's not as, it's a little bit easier to work and easier to sand. If you had a big dent like that, you would use Bondo.
Okay.
If you had a light, tiny little scratch or cut in it, you could use the putty.
Oh, okay.
Because you could just run it over it. In just a few minutes, you could sand it, and then you're good to go as far as spraying your primer and stuff like that on it. But you can see there's like 5-6 layers on this thing. Mm-hmm. And if we tried sandblasting that, it would take a lot of blasting, and you would start heating this fender up, and it would potentially start warping.
But the grinder does a good job on just...
The grinder does a good job getting it down close to the metal, or even right to the metal. You just got to be...
See, this is where I was doing it wrong, because I kept tapping it, and then you did it.
It's almost like gouges.
Yes.
You're making little gouges in it, and that's fine too, as long as you ain't to the metal.
Yep.
The end goal is to get 90% of this material off of here, where you could take a palm sander and get the rest of it like that. It takes a little time, and there's other methods that are a lot quicker.
But that was pretty quick, and
yeah, that wasn't bad.
What you were doing there with that angle, I could see it. You were brushing it; it wasn't moving off. Whereas I was bumping it.
Probably these fenders in about an hour and a half to 2 hours of work. I could have this fender here
done,
basically down to that.
Okay.
As much material as it's got on it, that's pretty good. There's other tools out there to get this stuff off, but I don't have any of them. The best thing I can do is just a disc and start grinding it off, get it close, and then take a palm sander and sand the rest out.
I'm going to let you do that. I want to film you just to show that angle again, just because you're quicker at it.
Yeah.
And then in that meantime, I can take all the fixings out of that.
I'm going to go ahead and change this disc out to a fresh one.
What was the number again you said?
The what?
The number of this grit we used?
Oh, the grit here, I think this is a 40 or a 60.
Okay.
This is a 40.
A 40.
It's pretty aggressive. This is a 60.
And that's what I'll be able to use to go over that.
That's what we'll finish it off with, getting it rest of the way down. See, it's pretty aggressive, but not so aggressive it's going to damage the metal.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. But if I can get it close with this, then that right there won't be no problem to knock the rest of it off.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 60 here. I've got quite a few 60s. These are all 60s. I'm going to try a 60.
You're going to try 60? Yeah, you do what I want to try with the 60. I'll go right through those layers.
It's not quite as aggressive. So it won't.
But it's more than 40.
Yes. Well, no,
It's less?
it's less aggressive than 40. 40 is pretty aggressive. Now, they got a 24 grit.
Okay,
That's
the lower the
super
number?
aggressive.
Okay.
The lower the number, the more aggressive it is. And I don't really want to go aggressive because I don't want to grind down into the metal real quick. But you would with a 24 grit, you would chew this fender up just a minute. But you might do some damage to the fender too.
You know, when it comes to wet sanding and the buffing, the higher the number, the softer it is.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with this part here, the grinding, it's the opposite.
Right.
That's why I assumed that.
Yeah, they start buffing with sometimes they start with around the 600, and
Yes.
they go to 1,000, then
Yep.
they go to 1,200, even up to 3,000.
Yes. Well, we saw some of that when we were at Alloway's shop when they were doing the Triple Crown truck, and that's where I learned the different levels.
Yeah, this is the
buffing.
opposite.
It's the
The
opposite.
lower the number,
The more aggressive
the more aggressive it is. This probably isn't going to be too aggressive.
No, that was actually quite good.
So you're starting to see the metal in various little places. I got a little.
You might only need to go over that once, whereas with the 40, you might have had to go over it twice
Right.
to get that revealed.
This gets close, so we'll do that to the whole fender basically, and then we'll come back and start DAing it out.
All right, I'm gonna leave you to that, and I'll get started. And
You want to set that fender up here?
yep, I can do it.
Give you a good work.
Yeah, so I'm just got to take off all the bolts and nails of the fixings, the lights, the trim. It's not too bad. That way I can get this ready. goes from basically black to silver. And then the more of an angle I hold it, the better it feels. Just especially with the dents, with that hot bar going. Thing that Kent mentioned was we might end up doing some welding as well. So there is, up on the doors, there's a few parts here that we may need to cut out, especially these parts. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be getting door poppers at this stage, but either way we might cut this whole bit out and put new sheet metal on it. And there's some rust here as well that all needs to be cut out. Piece of metal right here. That should be fun. I am excited about welding. So that's what's happening today. And remember, if you're enjoying this, subscribe and like the videos. Keep me going. And I'm excited about this truck, and I know you all are as well. Let's get this finished as soon as we can.